Powers, who has the purse, and others who would have taken on board the different recommendations to rethink it. And in this process, I want to also put forward, on behalf of my constituents, from whom I would have also got inputs in this contribution. One, the whole issue of organization and governance is an issue that we need to look at. Our farmers, our fisher folks, the whole group. There are several little clusters of groups and so on trying to farm and so on, but there are challenges. And not that they don't want to. As I mentioned before, I've had discussion with our good friends, fisher folks up in Sotez. I only recently had some dialogue with our fisher folks in Calice. And the support, they are willing, they want to register, they may register, but the administration, these are people that are out, busy people, fishing. Some of them may not have the full capacity. And further to that, I also had a dialogue with our good minister, Bain Hosford, and our PS, very good discussion. And I also highlighted and presented those thoughts, but also provided some suggestions for the consideration, some of which I would have also communicated to the same group. So for example, I suggested to them, that's the fisher folks, farmer folks, you can get maybe TAMCC students, maybe some of the SGU students who can do some of this for the community service, for extra credits, can do whatever bookkeeping, whatever administrative, coordinating meetings, so that they can have more involvement. So when we speak about youth in agriculture, and we speak about labor support, it's not only about going and dig the lands, cutting the grass, it's not about that. Agriculture is a broad-based activity. You may need a chainsaw repair person, you may need a weed eater repair person, you may need someone to do pruning, you may need someone to do the books, because all that is agriculture. Agriculture is not, and this is the misnomer, eh? So then we say we need to make it sexy. And we think we're doing something different. But that is agriculture. Whether we have to take a phone and go on a WhatsApp and go on a information to see how they grow, all this is agriculture. So we must not lose sight of what agriculture is. So our good friend, Brother Garway, said earlier, things change. Definitions of things change. And we have to understand those definitions and understand the context. So I wanted to say this. And so that is one approach we can look at. We also have another approach. Another approach is where you create what I call a hub of technocrats. And they are technocrats, whether they are 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, and they know how to do administrative work and know how to make phone calls, to make connection to market and all of those things, because the farmers are out doing things. So they can have an office space in a community center, in some common ground, and they can have a mentor or two with them, maybe a marketing person, a bookkeeping person, and they now will provide support for, say, maybe 4 or 5 cooperatives or farmer groups in that area. In that way, we provide more value, we create more execution, and you don't have a sort of duplicity taking place all over the place. So this place, for example, inside here, you could have a room and we are technocrats, and we provide service, and people do it, Accountants does it. Accountants sometimes do bookkeeping for 20 different businesses, and they get paid. So this money we have for youth in agriculture, that's why I say, how are we spending this money for what? And if we want to support the cooperatives and support the farmers, we cannot be cursing and say, oh, farmers are ready yet. We have to stop that. We have to stop it. The farmers are crying. I meet a young fellow in Sotez and he just didn't go down in tears. the president of the Sotels Fisher Folks organization. He says, sir, I really see what, we just can't. And when I tell him all the time, he said, that's a good idea now. We'll see if we could do it. Spoke to the minister of cooperatives. I know it might have been too late to put it in the work plan, but you don't need no work plan for that. Because the youth in agriculture project, and the money we have for youth empowerment and all those things, we could retool it. Because what I don't want us to lose sight of is that the very youth that we say we're targeting to empower and do all of those things, these are youth, if they are real jobs, they could walk in the morning and go in a teaching job, in a bank, in anywhere, because they have all the different subjects and capabilities. In fact, the man will tell you some of them have degrees and masters. So it's not people that can handle themselves. It's just how we put them to work for this country. And that is the question. There's another part to the cooperatives, and that was a very important concern that the minister raised with me. And the minister said, Sinclair, it's about 11 persons, I think, to form a cooperatives. But sometimes you have 4 persons, they're working nice together, and they want to form a cooperative, but the law don't set up for that. So it's something that we have to work on, and I support her in that direction. If we can make some revisions so that we could be able to better, because sometimes they say one extra cook spoil the broth, so sometimes 4 could work good, but because you have to get 11, the whole thing turned old mess. And I thought that was a very smart idea that we should really support her with and move forward. In terms of a national farmers organization, this is a big topic, but it's not so big. We think it's big because we have national football organization, we have national basketball. How they operate? They have clubs, they have competitions, and they're doing things. They may have the challenges. Is along that similar model. I am proposing that we look at that. I already speaking to some of my colleagues in the region, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, who have similar models, like the Barbados Agriculture Society, and I know my good Senator Bola is fully aware of some of those things, and I think that we have a good opportunity to look at those models and really make a difference for our farmers, where they can be better organized. For example, right now, CARICOM has some consultation going on. The private sector is sitting there, and agriculture is not at the table. So they are making decisions maybe to import more and more goods from Europe or somewhere, and where is the farmers at the table? Always getting left. So part of my duty, part of my job, I'm in contact with them, and we're going to champion, and I'm looking for the support of my other colleagues so that we can have a representation. We speak of food import bill and all of those things. That is where we have to hold those discussions, because the policies of the CARICOM will definitely impact what happens to us in Grenada. And then we go and ask for all sort of exemptions, and let us fix it up front. The issue of welfare for our farmers and fisher folks is a personal responsibility I want to engage in, and of course, I seek the support of the government and others involved in that. For too long, our farmers, I know they don't want to pay NIS, and sometimes it's logistics, sometimes it's a lot of things, and I am calling on farmers. Let's get registered. It's a good thing. It's good for your family, it's good for your children, and all of those benefits. Please. And of course, with the organization farming, I think that will be able to sell better to them. I think also, from the fisher folks in particular, the lost at sea. Sometimes the fisher folk, they have to put money together to get gas, to go and look, in addition to whatever the government may do in looking. And that was some concern that was raised. And I say, well, maybe we can speak to some of the gas companies. They spend a lot of money in all sort of giveaways, $10,000 allocation for gas for search and rescue. I don't think it's going to kill anybody. So that's a public call. For that, we don't have lost at sea regular. But it's something I think that we could be able to help and have it. And they don't accumulate it. If it's finished for the year and they only use 10,000 or 5,000, you just create a new one for the next year. Also, we need to look and see how the folks in the fishers in particular, the issue of the bends is a big issue. Now, Grenada has made a lot of progress because we have our chamber and so on here. But I think the issue of education, seems to be a major issue from the dialogue with them down in Calise in particular. There's a lot of divers. And speaking to one of them, he actually was lost at sea 24 hours just hanging on to his water tank, his tank to survive. I was like, wow, I'm sitting by you. That's your hero, you know. And I say this to say that we eat the food and we eat lunch and we hopefully will eat dinner, and we don't think about those sacrifice and the effort that these folks make. And then we want him to come back and go and run a farmers organization and to go and make a phone call to, you know, where is the support? It's not much, because we already have some of the money allocated for certain things already. It's the strategy. And that's why I like the Minister David point of planning, organization, but he didn't come with the implementation, so I'm sure they're helping him with this part here right now. I want to move forward quickly before my time go. I speak a lot about the youth already, but we need to do something with this Maribo Farm School. I need to be more than farm, we need to go farm and fishing. Fishing is our number one, but we don't even have a fishing school anymore. You know, so sometimes we rally on things, and then, as we mentioned earlier on, 60 years will come, and then we say, where is it? So let us start putting things in place. This is, to me, when we start talking about resilience, that was say, forget recovery. All of us go like recovery and transformation. So 20 years, we lose our fishing school, and we never even try to start back one. And we're happy. We're eating fish. And we don't even know how these guys are them catching the tail outside there. And so there's a lot of opportunities, which I don't want to go into, beekeeping and so on, livestock and so on. There are a lot of opportunities. But one of which, though, I want to put on the table is that during the summertime, I'm not too sure if you know right now, maybe 15 years ago, almost every summer, children was going and learn computers. I guess all of us know computers now that we're even teaching it from our home, you know, each one teach one. And it's interesting that people who used to be teaching computer science, all that business may be almost closed now. Could you imagine if the same thing happened with children going and learn about fishing, learning to plant a nutmeg tree, learning to milk a goat, learning to rear a rabbit in the summertime? If the same theory holds, that each one teach one because you learn so much that you could teach among yourself. So this is something I think we could take on board, and all that is part of you money for youth. So that we don't wait till they get a master's and whatever degree, and then they say, we're looking for a job. And we don't have jobs, so let's put a program. You might be smart today and want to do that as a government. But 20 years from now, a new generation will be here. And they may not be so kind as you. And there might be more problems. So let's put a proper system that can guarantee a more stable future, as maybe our foreparents would have done. Scholarships. We speak a lot about that. But I want to see more scholarships, real scholarship. Let us send some more tertiary in agriculture. And maybe tomorrow, when the government side come, you might be able to do a quick research and tell us how much persons over the last 5 years or 4 years gone to do some degrees in agriculture, so we could say, okay, yes, food security, eat what you grow, and farmers can know there are technical people to help them. Okay? The issue of greenhouse technology, all of those things, because you have that, climate smart. It's just how you tailor it. So I'm good with you there. Very good. But certification, and I think that was mentioned, I'm not too sure this morning, is important. We have the NTA, and we need to do that. Right now in the GCNA, we have a partnership that we are almost finalizing to train young nutmeg farmers in level 2 production for nutmeg. And so this is something that we could repeat. And maybe again, whilst we're worrying about money in the first instance with this project, we can get some of the same youth money to do that for nutmeg, for cocoa, for beekeeping. And let's do the thing properly. So 20 years from now, if we're still alive, for those of us who remain, we could say, but yes, we did something good in shooting. The labor support program, and it's funny that it's written I had to do some investigation, it's written as strengthening rural opportunities. Nice fancy word, lovely. But it's basically, most of it is for labor support with the farmers. I know the farmers are concerned about they not getting proper work, and sometimes it's because the persons who are doing the work, they're not trained. And again, I'm not speaking to the converted. I mean, I'm speaking to the converted. You know the story. So maybe again, in our whole youth money, let me train persons how to dig a drain. So when they leave there, they are certified farm labor support under some NVQ, CBQ, and if they have to go and work in another country, they could go, and then where we could say we could export labor, and we know the remittances and so on could add back to the country. That to me is transformation. But if we're just going to cut the bush thing, go home, take the money till another one come, in 2 days that money done, and they know better off. I don't think it's fair to us, and the farmers don't think it's. In some cases, some farmers send them back, and I don't want to call a name here. I want to say that the bushing program, which I kind of put as a farm labor support, because as a young boy, you know, you see someone say, I'm going in the bush. They're not going by the side of the road in bush, they're going in the lands. That's what they really mean. And I want to put the debushing program in particular, and a little bit with the farm labor support. We should really get the Solid Waste Authority more involved in this process. Because this bush cut, it sits by the road sometimes for days. I'm driving on the road every day. And I always wonder where this bush is going when it's cut. And then the place looks so nice when it's finished cut. And I say, but this is like cutting a yard, it's like landscaping. So I don't know why we even call it the bushing in the first place. Maybe it's just our colloquial name and you have a different name for calling it. But I think if we take this and we put this under the Solid Waste Authority, and you build different composts and stuff throughout the country, all of this is part of a whole green climate, and you get the same persons involved, and you package this thing, and then you go back into a whole organic system. To me, that is transformation. But I think further that I think they say Gary did that once, and they say Gary was a madman, but when he thought of that, I say, but we can then beautify our communities. Plant nice flowers along the road. We can get our folks in the diaspora, even also ourselves, who, I from Ladig, you from St. James, wherever, I going to fund $100 for 200 feet of road to put some nice flowers, and then the whole of Grenada can be beautified in such a diverse way that in itself would contribute to just local sightseeing. It would enhance your whole community tourism and all of those set of stuff. That to me is transformative. Because these persons can then continue maintaining and all of those things, and they have that pride in the community. Then you can start learning about people who know about biology and insects and flowers, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I was dreaming when I had these thoughts, but it's good to dream. In Costa Rica, Mr. Deputy President, at the end of the day, in the markets, they take all the waste and they put it into compost, and they use this vermouth thing with the worms and all those things. So all of this could be part of this whole encompassing thing. Who will hire the folks? I don't know if it's the solid waste or if they will hire accordingly, but I want to suggest that. And it worries me. It worries me, and it comes back to the Ministry of Agriculture, that the Ministry of Agriculture, which normally would handle this labor support for the farmers, they didn't handle that this year. And I wonder, and I say, well, I know people are retiring, there's less labor. If there's a loss of confidence in the management capabilities within the Ministry of Agriculture, that they start moving out things from the Ministry of Agriculture, it worries me. Close on the farm labor, how they call it, the machinery you keep private people. But now and the farm machinery thing, Mr. Deputy President, if we really want, I don't know what the problem is. The problem is maintenance, as the case may be. But this could have easily go down to the police garage, where we have trained mechanics who have full capabilities, who doing all government vehicles, all kind of stuff. I think we could have sent them down there. And so the police, so if fixing is a problem, they could do all the fixing and all this stuff like that. So I don't think we should really close this thing. No, I think this thing should be relooked. I think the minister mentioned that in his presentation the last time. So I'm moving on quickly. Priya Lasini, I spent a lot of time on that. And all I want to say on this is that we're promoting a camera, which is good. But you know, Mr. President, if I'm a farmer and I want to go and buy this camera and it's $2,000, and you, as a regular man in your home, want to buy the same camera, it's $2,000, two of us paying the same thing, but our interest is different. So we are calling on the government side to let us see how we can have some concessionary duties for our farmers if we are pushing them, and we have been pushing them in that direction, which is good, and they've been holding people in that area. I want to move quickly to fisheries. As I mentioned earlier, it's one of our major area of exports. We had recently a good public-private partnership with the government and the Southern Fishermen Association and Speyside Fish House. But what it shows is that if the government really supports you to get strong, when you're strong, what happens? So we speak about our foreign partners are so strong, China, America, England. If they wasn't strong, they would not have been able to help us. So we build strong institutions, we build strong organizations so they can help. All right? We have the jetty, and there's a burning concern in St. Mark's. And Senator Cox, please see what could be done. You have three fish markets, three different landing sites, but they have to pull up the boat on stone and all kind of things like that. See what could be done, please. That is a special plea for the people of St. Mark's. The ice machine, well, I spoke about that, and so I am confident that some action is going to take place there. But we need to do some value added in fishing. Salt fish is a big export. It's a big import in this country. We used to be doing salt fish, smoked fish, so training, youth, and well, I think the message is clear. Where you have to spend the money. We could export it, but we could also use it locally. I know there is a project right now that has been contemplated to do nice fillet and so, which is a value-added export, and we congratulate that, and we look for the full support of the government, which I think they've been getting already in this regards. Because I look at some figures. St. Vincent, for example, in 2019, I think exported out $18 million worth of fish. And they plan to do some development in Bakeway, which we want to add 20 to that. So immediately we would move from a 25 or 22 to we are overtaken by St. Vincent. Okay? I want to go down to look at poultry. Poultry, to me, again, needs some transformation. The biggest challenge we have here, we all know. People say the challenge is feed. But the challenge is not feed. I didn't go to school for long. I didn't learn a lot of technical things. But sometimes, the more you dig, the more you would find gold. And so, the poultry policy, which I know my dear Senator Vola is fully aware of, well, you might be aware, I think, speaks about this agreement, and I will call it disagreement, between the Caribbean Agro, and this is sent in 1976, 1977. We need to look at that, because the policy spoke about looking at it and see how we can make it more conducive for our local poultry persons. And this is a dialogue that myself, the Poultry Association, and of course the Minister for Agriculture already start dialoguing on. And we have to see some movement there. I visited one of the farms, family farms, only on the weekend. And what this young gentleman is doing is remarkable. We have to support him. And not only him alone, we have to support the whole poultry industry. Because I learned that in 1 month, the equivalent chicken, poultry that is imported in the country, what we consume, it works out to about 35,000 birds. That's what we eat every month. That's the equivalent. So, based on the amount of persons in the country we look at. So, we need to look and see how we can support the poultry. He had some challenges, though. The issue of finance, that's a big issue. I went on page 5, but it's okay. Finance is a big issue. And I say, we cannot go to the banks anymore because when we invest in agriculture, it's investment. When you go to the banks, it's for a loan. So I understand why banks give problem, because they don't see the investment part of it. So I am calling on the GIDC, I think, could do a better work. We have a lot of friends and family in the diaspora who have little monies that they may put in a bank here, and they put it because they think it may help our own people. But really and truly, he ain't helping. So maybe if they could channel it through some investment operation through the IDC, so you invest in this in business, you invest in that. That's why you invest in stocks and bonds. They might get more value and contribute better to this country. I believe also, from the financing standpoint, the issue of the CBI, we need to have some more focus on agriculture. I know there might have been some that failed, some little initiatives, but I think it's skewed a lot to the tourism sector. Maybe that is not true. Maybe it's my perception. But maybe if we do a matrix to see industry per investment, we may be able to see the reality. So I think we could do a lot of these things with all these banks. Even GDB is a problem. I spoke to a mother on Friday. I mean, she almost wanted to cry and she don't want to let me off the phone. She said her son went to GDB, problems, $40,000. He went to a local bank. They say, oh, bring your land paper, bring your salary slip, I think, and bring some life insurance. For $40,000. But if you want a car for $60,000, they say you'll get it easily. Craziness. We have to support. We can't wait on the banks, because the banks, they will do whatever they want, and then at the end of the day, we don't have no food to eat. And all the nice things we want to see happen that is transformative is not transforming. The issue of the land bank, well, I spoke about that already, but one thing I want to say on the land bank is the land policy part, which I hear is in the legal affairs and so on. But I was speaking to an old gentleman a few weeks ago, old mentor. He said, but what we can do, all we need to do is to just say 75 to 100 feet back from the road, you could build. And then in the back, you have your agriculture. So it would help in that way. That's 15 more minutes?
10.
10, okay, great, no problem. Good, that's okay. So that takes me here. I did with the airlift already. You have to do with, we need some interministerial coordination. I think we need to be speaking more to each other in terms of the ministries. And the other two big areas I want to speak on is the issue of agro-processing. I'll leave agro-processing for 1 second. I want to speak of, I spoke about marketing board. We need to integrate marketing board. I believe that marketing board need to go back to the Ministry of Agriculture. It was doing much better when it was there to serve its real mandate and purpose. And so we can able to connect and organize markets better for the farmers. Of course, the commodities, we know its significance, but that wouldn't minimize the overall contribution that is doing. I think that when marketing board is focusing on agriculture, it's better. It provides more support to the Ministry of Agriculture, because the Ministry of Agriculture sometimes is functioning and you cannot connect farmers to market. But marketing board is for the market. Marketing board also need to be connected to the school feeding program. So when I speak about the education at $3-something million earlier on, marketing board should be supplying the school feeding program or hospitals and institutions, because that we know when they supply is local. If they're not supplying, then who else is supplying? And what are they supplying? The other two key areas I would speak on is one, to deal with the, I believe, Mr. Deputy President, I think my two main points I want to wrap up with. The issue of greenhouse technologies. I believe that we need to have like a bank, like you do like a 5 acres or 3 acres of greenhouses cut up in different quarters, and persons list it, and they list it to do their production. And so you may have a bank of maybe 2 acres in Sotes, 5 acres in Granans, wherever it is. So then, and that again could be funded through a CBI, through whatever. And then if I want to produce cabbages, I go and I list this for 1 month or 1 year, just like when you list an apartment. and you go and you make your production. When you finish, you go your way. Because if you do that, you also connect to market. So that is my model I want us to look at. Rather than giving that little farmer here a greenhouse, a farmer, that is a kind of putting strain on even monitoring and managing these things. Similarly, we could do a similar approach to deal with the small ruminants, because I see we try to put more money in the abattoir, when yet still we keep importing animals to go in the abattoir. We need to have our own animals here going in the abattoir. Okay? So this is my contribution there. I want to also speak on the cocoa and the nutmeg. There is work happening there. We have been doing some value added, both cocoa and nutmeg. But we have some issues, road access, and I know there are some work doing on that, so I wouldn't cry there too much. But the whole issue of doing more with agro-processing and value addition, you know we are cash-strapped, everybody know that. But we are seeking partners so that we can be able to create that evolution and transformation in those regards. So that is what I would say. Crop insurance, again, I know this is a discussion that is happening. I think I mentioned that already, okay? Then agro-processing. I think that is where everybody would want to know about agro-processing. Mr. Deputy President, nutmeg, that's nutmeg hot sauce. This is some Northern Tamarind sauce, Juve chocolate, herbal teas, cassava and breadfruit flour, honey. So the point is, and I think that was said this morning, we must not live here, and the farmers must not feel daunted that things ain't happening. Financiers, bankers, other investors who are looking on must not feel nothing not happening. Things are happening despite our pronouncements. But you see, what is happening is routine. Because you want to have maybe this year ending up in 2 containers going to China, Japan, but this person cannot even go and get a loan for $10,000. In fact, you have to get a life certificate, a birth certificate, and all. So what I'm saying is, this $11 million maybe that we speak about that is frozen. And you will say, well, it's frozen, and accounting-wise, it don't exist. It's just that it wouldn't be a cost coming in. But we're finding money for a lot of other little things. And I believe with the agro-processing, if we invest maybe less than $5 million and build a multi-purpose agro-processing center, and this now would be used in a shared manner. So you call it up, you have for maybe sauces, for juices, for different type of processing mechanism. And I could come and rent a space and make my production, pack up my bag, I go. Next week, I rent, but Luis come in, he rent. And if we do that, we use our monies more wisely, and we create transformation. Rather than, I want to apply for a loan for $20,000, you apply for $40,000, and all of us fighting to do something. And then we have a big issue. The issue of exports has to do with our food safety standards, our HACCPs, our British Retail Consortium standards. And my God, I mean, big institutions, GCNA, COCO, marketing body, get your hell to even do those things. You don't even have money to do it in the proper way. How we expect, I mean, Michel confectionaries, and so, we expect that to happen, and then we want to say, well, we want to transform. I mean, in agriculture, I'm around for a while. And what we put in on the table can transform. However, what is the beauty about that? Again, I don't know how much money we have in for the youth, but back to the youth again, because they are capable. We build this thing, you put them to manage this stuff, so that the whole place is HACCP compliant, all the documents. So when I come inside here to produce my product, all these young technocrats would be doing all the bookkeeping, all the quality job, because they're capable. And the product is living there with a proper stamp of approval, and not wondering what Tom doing in the back of the kitchen or under the house and where you get it. And so he can't even make enough to even make an order. This to me, if it's the only thing that you take all the money and find a way to do, I think Grenada would be better off. Not only for us, but for the farmers, the family. And then we wouldn't even have to worry about fighting and waiting about these project jobs, about a project go start here and after thing. Because when the project done, you know what happens? Well, I live in the rural communities, and I know about 7 of us from there. When construction is done, what is up? Agriculture is up. They go in the lands because they have time on their hand. And you could see that. So in the COVID, what has happened? No construction, other people went to their lands. And so after the thing, you see a lot of wonder where all these goods come out. So this would make a big difference with all the products our sisters speak about that spoiling. It's not spoiling because we really want it to spoil. You know? It's spoiling because we don't have the means. So we continue to be POMI 1. So, Mr. Deputy President, I want to mention we need to keep our focus on the flowers and all of this industry, because cut flowers is a very important industry. Again, the youth. Soursop, which is like number 2 in our export, and if we don't careful and to provide the sort of support to soursop industry, especially in terms of the defense, in terms of the pest and disease, the same effort that we are putting in with the COVID, because it's the same issue, you know. It's the same issue. The issue about it, Mr. Deputy President, is because things that affect the plant ain't really killing us. So we don't bother. With COVID, we worried because we know if you don't have one of us go dead. It's the same effort. It's the same effort we have to put with the defense for soursop. And in fact, I would want us, I'll 5 more minutes at the end of me.
Yeah, you have to wrap up now.
Okay, good, right. I'm wrapping up now. And it's the same effort with golden apple, which we need to do some work on. I think I saw it went off the table. This was a $3 million export from Grenada many years ago. We had the fruit fly issue. And if we can get this back, we can do wonders again in this country. So with these few words, my colleagues, Mr. Deputy President, and of course, my constituents, I trust that you would consider. I saw you taking a lot of notes. I know you're not a journalist, and I expect you to come back tomorrow and give us some good answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. And I must indeed say, for your maiden voyage in our budget debate, you had all of us awake, and you kept us on the edge of the seats. I thought your ideas were extremely revolutionary. And, you know, I suppose that is testament to young brains and youth and the vigor and energy you bring to this particular topic as you make your deliberation in the Senate. I also want to say that I thought Senator Sincere for her maiden voyage also did well, because in any forum like this where you're coming the first time to do a budget debate, it can be a daunting challenge, especially with all the documents that you have to deal with now. And I know the challenge with it coming digitally as well. So, Senators, we're going to end the session today. We're going to adjourn to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning promptly for us to restart and hopefully complete our session tomorrow. So with that said, I formally adjourn the Senate to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Yes. Come back.